Welcome to the Books Bible Study, where we are continuing to go through the Bible. We are now on Genesis chapter 40, and verse 1 reads: It came to pass after these things that the butler and the baker of the king of Egypt offended their lord, the king of Egypt. Verse 2: And Pharaoh was angry with his two officers, the chief butler and the chief baker. Verse 3: So he put them in custody in the house of the captain of the guard, in the prison, the place where Joseph was confined. Verse 4: And the captain of the guard charged Joseph with them, and he served them, so they were in custody for a while. Verse 5: Then the butler and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were confined in the prison, had a dream, both of them, each man's dream in one night, and each man's dream with its own interpretation. Verse 6: And Joseph came into them in the morning and looked at them and saw that they were sad. Verse 7: So he asked Pharaoh's officers who were with him in the custody of his Lord's house, saying, Why do you look so sad today? Verse 8: And they said to him, We each have had a dream, and there is no interpreter of it. So Joseph said to them, Do not interpretations belong to God? Tell them to me, please. So in the dream, prior to Joseph, dreams about his parents and his brothers bowing down to him, it seemed like they were more like experiences, right? Instead of something that needed to be interpreted. And so this tells me that some dreams have need of interpretation because there's information that God is trying to release to someone. And then other dreams are not actually dreams, but they're spiritual experiences that happen basically while your body is resting, while your body is asleep, because your spirit doesn't need to sleep, right? It doesn't need to rejuvenate the way that our body does because it is earth, right? So verse 9 says, Then the chief butler told his dream to Joseph and said to him, Behold, in my dream a vine was before me. Verse 10: And in the vine were three branches. It was as though it budded, it was as though it budded, its blossoms shot forth, and its clusters brought forth ripe grapes. Verse 11: Then Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup, and placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand. Verse 12: And Joseph said to him, This is the interpretation of it. The three branches are 3 days. Verse 13: Now within 3 days Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to your place, and you will put Pharaoh's cup in his hand according to the former manner when you were his butler. So for those who are dreamers, you can begin to understand how this interpretation begins to take place. Like what stood out in the dream, right? The numbers stood out. So whenever there's something repeating or a certain number of things, that's important. The action of pressing the grapes, his occupation, right? The Pharaoh, all of those things were important. Verse 14 says, But remember me, this is Joseph talking to the butler. But remember me when it is well with you, and please show kindness to me, make mention of me to Pharaoh, and get me out of this house. Verse 15: For indeed I was stolen away from the land of the Hebrews, and also I have done nothing here that they should put me into the dungeon. So he's an innocent man now, okay? Verse 16: When the chief baker saw that the interpretation was good, he said to Joseph, I also was in my dream, and there were three white baskets on my head. Verse 17: In the uppermost basket were all kinds of baked goods for Pharaoh, and the birds ate them out of the basket on my head. Verse 18: So Joseph answered and said, This is the interpretation of it. The three baskets are 3 days. Verse 19: Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift off your head from you and hang you on a tree, and the birds will eat your flesh from you. So in this dream, this is pertaining to their occupation, right? Both dreams had something to do with what they did, right? So even though it may be something you do for work, you will have dreams pertaining to that place, but it has a different meaning, okay? Verse 20: Now it came to pass on the third day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast for all of his servants. And he lifted up the head of the chief butler and of the chief baker among his servants. Verse 21: Then he restored the chief butler to his butlership again, and he placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand, just like the interpretation of the dream said, right? Verse 22 says, "But he hanged the chief baker as Joseph had interpreted to them." Verse 23, "Yet the chief butler did not remember Joseph, but forgot him." Right? So this chapter we see a dreamer who is able to interpret dreams. And although he is not in the best of places, right? He's in the prison for something he did not do, right? He has been given the opportunity to put his gift to work, and we're going to see if this gift is going to benefit him or not. Okay? So hopefully from just seeing how he interpreted the dreams in your own dreams, if you are a dreamer, you will see that numbers are important. You being in a certain work, if you're in your workplace, if you're in an old home, who the people are in your dreams are important, because not only it may not be the person may actually represent something or someone else as well. So we'll get to know a little bit about dream interpretation in these next two chapters. So that concludes Genesis chapter 40. Please stay tuned for Genesis chapter 41. God bless.